Ever feel like, you're kind of stuck on autopilot, just going through the motions day after day, but there's this part of you that's like, wait a minute, is this really all there is?
Oh, absolutely. That feeling, it's universal, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's fascinating because, well, we're diving into a text that gets right at the heart of that.
We are going deep into Ecclesiastes, right?
Yes, chapter 1, to be exact.
Okay, so Ecclesiastes chapter 1. What should our listeners kind of know going into this? What's the setup?
So we're reading words attributed to King Solomon. And this isn't just any king. We're talking about a guy known for wisdom, for wealth. I mean, unimaginable wealth.
This is the lived a little king.
Right. And yet here he is, opening this book with a line that hits you like a ton of bricks. Vanity of vanities, all is vanity.
Whoa. Okay, so starting off with sunshine and rainbows.
Right. And I think a lot of people hear that and they think, oh, Solomon, he's just being pessimistic. But it's so much deeper than that, I think.
Yeah, because when you say vanity, we think like, oh, she's so vain. But
Yeah.
what's the deeper meaning there?
So in the Hebrew, that word vanity, it can also mean fleeting or meaningless.
Right.
So it's not just about being self-absorbed. It's about this idea that everything we chase after, power, possessions, even knowledge, all of it, it's temporary.
It's all going to fade away eventually.
Exactly. And imagine, I mean, put yourself in Solomon's shoes for a second. You've achieved what most people would consider the pinnacle of success, but then you have this realization that none of it lasts. It's unsettling, to say the least.
Yeah, and it's not just the material stuff he's talking about, right? Like he even brings up things like the sun rising and setting, the wind blowing. It's like he's saying this feeling, this sense of things being kind of pointless. It's
Mhm.
just built into like the fabric of existence.
It's like he's saying we're on this treadmill, working and striving, but then you zoom out and
Yeah.
you realize the treadmill's not even plugged in.
Yeah, you're like, where's it all going? What's the point?
Right. And I think we've all felt that at some point, right? You reach a certain point in life, maybe you're killing it in your career, you've got a family, but then there's still that little voice in the back of your head that's like, what if it just keeps going on and on like this?
And it's wild to think, like, here's a king, right? He's got everything, at least materially, but he's still wrestling with this. So, like, what chance do the rest of us have?
That's the thing about these big existential questions. They don't discriminate based on wealth or status.
We're all in the same boat.
Exactly. And here's where it gets even more interesting. Solomon, he talked about how, and I'm paraphrasing here, the eye is never satisfied with seeing, nor the ear filled with hearing.
So he's saying, even with, like, all the experiences, all the knowledge in the world, it's still not enough.
It seems like it. Even with all his wisdom and resources, even Solomon hit a wall.
Oh,
There were still things beyond his grasp.
wow. So even a king can't have it all figured out.
It seems that way. So where does that leave us? I mean, if Solomon, with all he had, couldn't find all the answers,
Mm-hmm.
what does that mean for the rest of us?
Right.
Like, are we all doomed to wander around, never quite finding what we're looking for?
So is he saying, like, just give up? Don't even bother trying to find meaning.
Well, he does call this whole pursuit of knowledge a heavy burden that God has laid on mankind.
Okay, so maybe not giving up entirely, but
It's like he's acknowledging the weight of these big questions, the
yeah.
fact that they're hard.
So it's not about finding these like easy answers. It's more about like wrestling with the questions themselves.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe that struggle, that searching,
Yeah.
that's not something to be afraid of. Maybe it's part of what makes life, life.
Embrace the struggle. Okay. I like that. There's this other line from Ecclesiastes that really gets me thinking. It says, "What has been will be again. What has been done will be done again. There is nothing new under the sun."
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
And like on the surface, it just sounds kind of, I don't know, depressing. Like we're all just stuck in this loop.
I get that.
Yeah.
You can definitely feel that way. But what if, and just hear me out here, what if instead of despair, there's actually a strange kind of comfort in that?
Comfort in knowing that like we're all just repeating the same patterns over and over.
Maybe. I mean, think about it. Sun keeps rising, the seasons change, life goes on. There's a rhythm to it.
Mm.
And maybe, just maybe, that rhythm, that bigger picture, it's bigger than our individual anxieties about finding meaning.
So instead of fighting against like the cyclical nature of it all, we should try to find a way to like find peace within it.
I think that's a really interesting way to look at it. Recognizing that, well, we might not have control over the big existential stuff, we can still find meaning in the everyday moments.
The little things.
Exactly. The connections we make with each other, the beauty we experience, like you were saying, the sunrise,
Mhm.
the impact we have on others, that stuff matters.
even if it doesn't last forever, which I guess is kind of Solomon's point, right? If everything is temporary.
Maybe the goal isn't to chase after things that last forever.
But to appreciate, like, the beauty and the meaning in the right now.
Yeah. To savor those fleeting moments, those
Yeah.
connections, those experiences that make life rich and vibrant, even if they don't last forever.
It's like he's saying, hey, don't get so caught up in trying to make things last forever. Find the extraordinary in the ordinary.
Yes. Find a different kind of meaning. Not the kind that's like, carved in stone, but the kind that we create every day through what we do, the people we love, how we experience the world.
So we're not, like, powerless in all of this. We're not just along for the ride.
Right. We have choices. We
Hmm.
can decide how we're going to experience this life, even if we can't control all the big picture stuff.
And that's, I think, what makes Ecclesiastes so interesting. It doesn't sugarcoat it. It doesn't give us easy answers. It just lays it all out there.
And maybe that's the wisdom, right? That it's okay to not have all the answers. It's okay to wrestle with these questions, even if they make us uncomfortable.
To embrace the kind of the messiness of it all.
Exactly.
Well, on that note, as we start to wrap up our deep dive into Ecclesiastes chapter 1, I feel like what we're left with is this. Solomon, wise as he wasn't giving us like a step-by-step guide to life. It was more like he was giving us an invitation.
To figure things out for ourselves.
Yeah, to define what meaning is for us.
And, maybe there's something kind of comforting in knowing that we're not alone in that. Like everybody, no matter who they are, we're all kind of searching for that same thing.
All trying to find our place in the world.
Exactly.
So to our listeners, maybe it's time to step off the treadmill for a bit, take a breath and ask yourselves, what really matters to me? What brings me joy? What makes this whole crazy temporary existence feel even a little bit meaningful? Because the answers, well, they're not going to be the same for everyone.
Yeah.
That's more than okay. That's life, right? And on that note, thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We'll see you next time.